Hello friend, my name is Doombabe and today we're going to be talking about Ristorante Amore. After the disaster that was Don't Take It Personally, Babe, I will admit that the word hesitant does not even come close to the nervousness I was feeling when I was looking for a new visual novel to play. But when I came across Ristorante Amore, I thought, you know what, it's a free game, it's a visual novel, it had almost an 8 out of 10 score on Desura, so why not try it? And as per usual, I didn't do any research on the game before actually playing it, which I really should start doing because these games tend to throw me through 50 shades of loops. As I said, this is a free game, so it is getting a 1-point curve. The introduction to this game confused the absolute shit out of me. You start out playing as Lily, who is a recently graduated architecture student that recently started working at Ristorante Amore, which is a high-class Italian restaurant. And working with her are waiters Liam, Ethan, Laura, and Chef Pierre. The game is a normal romance dating sim game, but the prologue doesn't even matter because it's not actually the game. Yeah, as the actual story starts out, you find out that everyone except for Lily is just an actor that is completely aware of the fact that they are in a dating simulator game. The main character isn't even Lily, it's Josh, whose stage name is Pierre. The group is a close-knit pack of friends that have known each other for over a decade, and they live on the planet named Erwan. And in the beginning of the game, they explain that there are multiple dimensions with planets that are completely identical to Earth except for one trait. And that trait is that these other dimensional Earths rely on the emotions that come from the beings of Earth to survive. They harvest it and use it as a power source, and it even gives the planet a source to survive off of. One planet thrives off of sadness, and another thrives off of arachnophobia, which isn't actually an emotion, but okay. Erwan itself relies on the emotion love, which is why these characters are in a dating sim game, because apparently humans fall actually legitimately in love with these characters. I know some do, but not all of us. They all work in Ristorante Amore as employees, but they don't actually match their characters, or at least that's what they want you to think. While the other characters pull complete 180s on you once the cameras are turned off, Liam and Ethan are definitely the same archetypal characters that their characters are in the game. Each character has a backstory, aspirations, and future plans, and even some of them have realistic problems, such as crushing debt or making a mistake that destroys your career. However, that's about as far as the character development actually goes. The entire game was written in a month as a part of a game version of NaNoWriMo. Is it NaNoWriMo? NaNoWriMo? Anyways, the person wrote it in a month, and the best route they felt was appropriate was taking the route of multiple story branches. 9 branches to be exact. And because the writer made a point of having so many endings, the actual story itself suffered, including character development. I at no point felt any connection to these characters because there was simply nothing to connect to. I usually can get across the whole stereotypical characters as long as there is something deeper beneath it, but these characters were shallower than a rain puddle in the middle of a desert in Arizona. And while the game boasted that they had 9 endings, I had at no point any inclination to get past 4. And even then, 4 felt like a complete waste of time. This partly had to do with the lack of character development, but mostly had to do with the fact that the writer, again, focused so much on putting so many different endings into the game that there really wasn't any story to enjoy. No matter which route you took, it all ended the same. So-and-so moved in with me, everyone was supportive, the Risamo did well, the game did well, and everyone was happy, or I didn't accept this person's feelings, Risamo did well, the game did well, everyone was happy. There's nothing special about any of the choices that you really made. So with the complexity of there being 2 endings per character, as well as one ending where you were on your own, you would have to do the same thing over and over and over again for next to no return whatsoever. This is a visual novel, so the chances of there being anything unique about the gameplay were slim to none, so I went in here with little to no expectations. And that's a good thing because it really just plays like your average visual novel, which isn't really a bad thing. It's just read, click, make a decision, click, and then read some more. Though the controls themselves actually weren't that easy to figure out, because the only way you can even find what does what is by clicking on the poorly labeled help icon at the bottom of the menu. And by clicking on that icon, it takes you to a sort of visual novel, interactive, gameplay tutorial, which was creative, yes, but it would have been a lot easier for me to just figure everything out by either including this tutorial in the prologue, or by putting the controls under preferences like any other game. The soundtrack, though, I have no complaints. The soundtrack was amazing for this game. I actually put it in the background while I'm working, just because I enjoy listening to it so much. It had sound effects, and the sound effects are nice, but honestly, the music was where the shit was at. They had a wonderful medley of piano, wind, percussion, string instruments, the works, and they had different songs for different situations. So definitely have props for that for them. As the genre implies, half of the game is all about visuals, so the creators definitely had a heavy burden to bear in order to deliver something good, but they didn't deliver. The backgrounds just looked like they were real photos of an actual room that were put through the Oilify filter on Photoshop. And while that worked pretty well with the restaurant, any other room just looked really tacky. And because of the oil painting look, the characters themselves stuck out as an incredibly sharp and very sore thumb. The art for the characters weren't exactly good as it is, but the artwork for the background really made everything stand out. If the backgrounds had been in a more cartoony fashion, I probably would be less critical of the way that the characters were drawn. Beyond the characters and the backgrounds, though, I have nothing but praise. The menu had an elegant look to it, the text bar was gorgeous, and even the save screen had a pristine look to it. And I really loved the transitioning that they used for going from different locations or moving times. The way that those were drawn fit in very, very, very well with the Italian, high-end restaurant theme that the game revolved around. I understand that the writer only worked on a month for the story, and I understand that this is a free game, so maybe they just didn't feel like putting all that much work into it. But I will still admit that I was very disappointed by this game, because actually a couple people recommended that I play it. I place a lot of emphasis on story, and the person who wrote this put so much effort into creating so many different endings that the story itself was just bad. And that's a common problem with visual novel writers that decide to do the whole choose your own story sort of deal. They forget that if the actual characters themselves aren't fun, and if the story itself doesn't really change based off of your actions, then the player feels not a whole lot of incentive to keep going back and playing and getting all those different endings, so it's really just a waste of time. I feel like if the writer had taken more time to focus on character and plot development and maybe only chose 2 or 3 different ending options, then the game would have been much better. In fact, my overall score without the 1-point curve probably would have been about a 7.5 out of 8. But as it is, no. As it is, you get 4.5 spaghetti squash dinners out of 10. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye! And Dota 2 released a new pet for the Crystal Maiden. It's a wolf puppy, which actually kind of reminds me of the Fire Corgi from World of Warcraft. It comes with a special effect for Freezing Field, custom effects and icon, 2,400 ability points for the